Hello, this presentation explores MedTech in the fight against COVID-19. Predictions state that COVID-19 will have a significant impact on the inflow of VC funding, and as we can see from this slide, various signs point towards a change in the medical device investment environment. For example, in April, there was a reported 21.7% drop in MedTech deals, although the highest volume did come from the venture financing category. In addition, anecdotally, experts are seeing terms, prices, and valuations change for some deals. However, these observed changes have not been punitive. In a similar vein, experts are seeing pullbacks from access to capital from less committed sources, which is notable for a sector that has benefited from a robust financial environment in recent years. Lastly, investors may be reevaluating their portfolios as they are 1. Looking to support and increase their current clients' optionality, and 2. Looking to invest in technology that can be used in the outpatient or ambulatory care, as well as do not require a full anesthesiology team. The global regulatory landscape is currently in flux for all medical device companies. In fact, medical device manufacturers should consider 3 areas. 1. Whether or not the product qualifies for an EUA granted by the FDA. 2. International exemptions as those in Australia, China, and Singapore. And 3. Downstream effects of pandemic disruptions. In addition, governmental agencies have proven to be non-diluted sources of funding, especially in the United States and India, where their governments have poured money into the industry for COVID relief, innovation, and accelerated getting COVID-related products to market. In addition, the EU has recently delayed the implementation of its MDR by 1 year, a safety requirement regulation for the medtech industry. However, regulatory experts note that companies should start preparing now for that MDR. With the changing environment, the question then becomes, how does each medical device company navigate the pandemic while proactively planning for a post-COVID situation? As outlined by the MedTech Pandemic Eisenhower Matrix created by Alira Health, companies must reevaluate their importance and urgency in the pandemic. Specific recommended strategies are displayed for each scenario. However, the key takeaway is that companies should develop a forward-looking value proposition to adjust to necessary budget shifts going forward. While increased funding will lead to opportunity, it will also lead to budget reprioritization. It is important to note there are significant differences in the funding environment for a COVID versus non-COVID device. As a result, there are a number of medical device companies, both large and small, pivoting towards COVID-19 solutions. For devices geared towards COVID-19, it is much easier to access funding as well as accelerate through the regulatory framework. Important to note is that the EUA window may be coming to a close, and when that happens, the FDA will no longer grant EUAs, and ones previously authorized will be timed out. However, there are a number of EUAs still active today from the Zika virus outbreak in 2016, which leads us to believe that some of these COVID EUAs, especially those related to diagnostic testing, will be active for years after the outbreak. If the device is not related to a COVID-19 solution, it does not mean that funding is impossible. Although it is true that some investors are acting more cautiously given the uncertainty, several are still actively investing. In fact, experts are observing that the majority of investors acknowledge COVID-19 as a short-term crisis, understand that non-COVID markets still exist, and therefore are looking for return opportunities in the long term. Additionally, if a device that is currently on the market can pivot towards a COVID-19 solution, it will be much easier for that device from a funding and regulatory perspective. One important note is that hospitals and providers are shifting resources to address COVID-19 patients, which has put a halt on many clinical trials for non-COVID devices. COVID-19 has drastically changed the way that healthcare stakeholders function, and therefore has accelerated the transformation of healthcare in both permanent and temporary ways. The outbreak has exposed hospital vulnerabilities in their business models as lucrative elective surgeries were canceled. However, these volumes are expected to return to pre-COVID numbers in approximately 3 months. On the payer side, premiums will likely increase for Medicare and Medicaid, as there is a predicted increase of new entrants and attrition into the marketplace. Moreover, premiums may change if private insurance companies have to dip into their financial reserves. The legislative sphere has proved that the federal agencies are non-diluted sources of funding, and acts such as CTAP and BARDA are accelerating COVID-19 solutions through the regulatory pathway. Lastly, and most importantly, all healthcare ties back to the patient, and as such, the return to the new normal will be largely based on how the healthcare consumer behaves in a post-COVID environment. Lastly, Honeywell has created 2 new COVID resource lists to recognize and help medtech startups during this COVID-19 outbreak. Our first resource list highlights the hundreds of startups who are helping fight against COVID-19. Our second resource list features over 80 open grants available for COVID-19 focused startups. If you would like to be added to the COVID-19 Startup Index, please contact us at comms@honeywell.com or visit our website at www.honeywell.com. Thank you.